We start?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know we was on. That's crazy.
Welcome to another episode of the Soulful Stir. I'm Diamond Simone.
And I am Tash. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Tell me something good.
Man, I don't know. I got a couple things. So,
Ooh, juicy.
last week I went to a brunch, the third annual Mommies Need Love 2 brunch, and I won a Chick-fil-A gift card.
Of course.
I won it in the raffle. So that was amazing.
That's very Tosh coded.
And then I have been like working on manifesting something intentionally and unintentionally. And I was kind of venting to my friend earlier, like, oh, I'm kind of caught up in a situation. And she was like, but this is what you've been wanting. This is what your desires were. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So, you know, my manifestations are coming into fruition. So that's always amazing. That's great, especially what I manifested.
Oh, gee. I feel like I know what it is, too. Well, I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed yourself at the brunch and you won something. You know, I tend to have really good look at events, too, like baby showers.
Oh, yeah.
I clean up at the baby showers.
I'm definitely a baby shower game winner.
Yeah. Last couple baby showers I went to, I won the diaper raffle and I won one of the games. So that's always fun. This is a winner circle.
Absolutely.
Circle of winners. But yeah, I'm also glad to hear that your fruitions are, or your manifestations are coming into fruition. That's very important. And I feel like you've been operating in like really good energy. So that makes sense that your fruition, I feel like you're saying your fruitions.
Your fruitions are
Your fruitions will come into manifest. It makes sense that your manifestations will come into fruition in that way. Just to share a little bit of something from my end, commencement is Saturday. Ooh. And when I tell you, I'm very, very excited. I'm looking forward to just everything and trusting the process, if you will. I'm really looking forward to this little break that I'm going to get once I'm completely done before I jump into the next phase.
I was getting ready to ask you, so are you planning on doing something after that? Like, are you planning to further yourself in higher education after?
You know, I'm still toying with the whole idea of what we talked about before. But I'm definitely moving into another program that will add on to what I'm already doing. And then hopefully I'll have it figured out, like the end goal of everything and what the full picture is. I would like to think that, well, I know that I'm manifesting some things too. So I'm not gonna lie, my energy's been a little off, but I feel like I'm returning to myself. So we'll see how it all plays out.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And speaking of returning to myself, I would love to segue into health and wellness because, you know, just simple and plain, I feel like I've heard this before and I've been told this before by people and in my dreams too. Spending time in nature is such an elite practice for resetting the mind. And I'm glad that this past weekend I actually went up to Grand Rapids for the weekend, which is, it's kind of a random place to just go to in Michigan. But it's about 2 hours away from Detroit. And it is home to a couple universities, Ferris State and Grand Valley State University too.
Okay.
And Grand Valley State, they actually had their graduation this past weekend. So shout out to the graduates. But I went up to Grand Rapids and I just needed some time to just reset. Like, I feel like I've been on go this whole semester, in between working full time, being a doula full time, being a sister, a friend, everything.
A lover and a secretary.
Working every day of the week. And then some. I just needed some time to just sit down. I spent a nice chunk of the weekend outside. I went to the botanical gardens, and they also had a butterfly exhibit, which was really, really cool. And I just felt such at peace, like being in the butterfly exhibit and just seeing and watching these butterflies dwell in nature. I also went to the Grand Rapids Art Museum, which I recommend to anyone who loves art or is an artist themselves. There is an exhibit by an artist by the name of Christopher Myers. It's up right now. There are actually a few artists whose information that I took, and some of them are native to Detroit. But Christopher Myers had this really profound exhibit that I think you would love too, Tash. I took some pictures of it. I'll show you of some of the pieces. I'll show them to you shortly. But yeah, amazing quilt art and boats. Like he crafts like real 3D figures of boats.
That's interesting.
But he took these boats and crafted them to tell stories about migration.
Oh, okay. That's
and
interesting. Yeah.
Immigration and the history behind all of this, like specific stories. Oh, he actually folds in Greek mythology into his work too, which I thought was really cool because you can see it manifest in some of the cool art that he's done for this exhibit. So all of that to say, I had a really great weekend. I feel refreshed. I feel renewed. I feel that, especially with the weather changing and it being sunny outside and just being able to see the different plants and vegetation that they had at the botanical garden. It's the Meyer gardens that they have up there.
Okay.
It was a lot of people in there. Yeah. Now that kind of,
I think I need something like that soon. Like I need to have like a little weekend getaway, staycation.
You should go and
away from the house. Just something to do. Like I do travel a lot, so I know when I tell people like, "Oh, I need to get away," they're like, "You just came back." But most of the time when I travel, I'm traveling with other people.
Yeah.
And more often than not, 85% of the time, if it's a domestic trip I'm taking, there's a specific reason. Like I think my only trips that are like, laissez-faire and just going with the flow are my international trips, just because, I don't have anything planned out of the country. I'm just going. But when I'm going anywhere in the United States, there's always a specific agenda, like, and not necessarily a business agenda, but for example, I flew to LA in January. My niece was turning 16. So, like I had to spend my weekend with her. Like, that was my purpose. Or, sense. I went to Atlanta in February, but my nephew passed. So I was there for a funeral. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's a different thing when you actually have to go and have events already planned and things that are scheduled that are going to preoccupy your time. And then I was also, you're around other people. So I feel like I need a solo. Like, I don't know if I need to take myself to Canada or to Chicago or somewhere that I can just kind of like drive, spend some time with myself on the ride there, enjoy the weekend and come back and kind of feel refreshed without, I think, the hustle and bustle of the airport. Because as much as I love to travel, I hate the airport. Like, I wish I could just close my eyes and either be on the plane or at least be at the destination. Like the walking through security, and I'm a TSA pre-check, global entry clear type of person. So I got
a bougie traveler.
I have every amenity under the sun. You know what I'm saying? Delta Sky Lounge access. I literally have every airport amenity to make my travel as seamless as possible, yet and still that stuff don't make a difference. Like, it's dealing with people at the airport is always a headache. Just going through the lines, the boarding, the deplaning, it's always so much it's just mentally just too much at times. So I just want to kind of go somewhere once again where I can just kind of drive and control, you know, how I get there, how that journey looks, because I do need a reset, which kind of segues into my portion of mind body balance, where I feel like I'm going through a phase where I am about to do a complete fast, and just recommitment back to the healthy lifestyle I had. I was vegan for 7 years. I started.
Why you and I never talk about this
at law school? I don't know.
You going into like feeling like you want to fast.
Well, because
that's been on my mind too.
Well, a lot of me wanting to fast is because I've always been taught that if you want change, you kind of have to swing the pendulum the opposite way. And I say that to say, like, I was vegan for 7 years. I was completely healthy, completely doing everything the right way as far as the dietary and lifestyle choices. Like, I only use vegan and organic body products, so on and so forth, things of that nature. And because of, like, my journey in motherhood of breastfeeding, and just trying to make sure things were accessible and easy. Like, we had my son on a vegan diet too, but when I was breastfeeding, I had a hard time with milk supply, with not getting the extra amount of protein or, you know, the dairy sources. So I started to kind of segue out of my vegan diet, and I literally been on bullshit since then. And it's crazy that I tell people that, because that was literally in 2021 and it's 2025. But in my defense, when I was at a place where I was ready, because we always had him on a vegan diet. We had started to let him eat a little fish before his passing. Like, he would eat salmon and catfish, but he never consumed dairy or anything like that. So I was getting to a place where I was getting ready to go back. Like, I was ready to transition back at that time. But unfortunately, when he transitioned, it was literally either eat something or don't eat at all. Like, I couldn't focus on what a healthy diet and what I wanted my diet to look like, because it was literally, my mom had to tell me, like, I haven't seen you eat in 3 days. You have to eat something. And I literally was like, make me some beef bacon. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would eat a plate of beef bacon, like 4 or 5 pieces of bacon, and that would be my meal for a day, because I was in so much trauma and like distressed because of my grief. So I've tried to give myself grace over these last year and a half, almost 2 years, where now I feel like I'm at a good space where I can transition. So I just want to do maybe like a 3-day fast where it's just like a juice cleanse. And then that way, because I have to do a hard stop on all this mess that I've been eating. And I think the only way to do that is to do a 3-day fast. Like, if I stop it for 3 days or more, I feel like when I am ready to eat again, I can introduce things to my body. Like, I have to go on a hard shock. And I've been doing so well. And the reason why I came to that conclusion is, and I don't think I'm going to go back fully vegan. I'll say that, but I do need to transition out of dairy. I do need to start being a little bit more intentional about what I'm eating, even if I'm going to consume meat. Because I am doing a lot as far as my workout goals and going to the gym, and I've committed myself to that lifestyle. And I just don't feel like I'm getting to the point where I make that joke about going to Chick-fil-A, but at the same time, I can't keep going to the gym for an hour and a half and coming home and eating whatever, because now it's just canceling each other out. Now I don't see no results. Now I'm just in the gym, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just going to the gym to be able to eat these other things. So I just kind of want to get a little bit better about like my carbohydrate intake, dairy intake, for sure sugar. I'm trying to like just cut out sugar. Unfortunately, that means I might have to kind of transition out of my wine. I don't want to do that, but it's a high sugar content in wine.
Wine and fruit for me. I mean, it said that like fruit is not bad sugar, if you will, but some people are like, no, like any type of sugar. So I don't know, but I think that's amazing that you have the willpower to do something like that, to come to a hard stop, because it is incredibly difficult to go cold on something that you've been doing for an extended amount of time. I think for me, deprivation doesn't really work well, but there is a level of discipline that comes with that I don't know, it feels rewarding to conquer, if you will.
Because let's be clear, I'm cutting out dairy, but I'm not giving up my whipped feta. You see what I'm saying? So there's like, I just want to have a better balance, like, and a better, like you said, the key word is the discipline.
So much of it.
Yeah, I don't want it to control me. Like, you know, people say that, like, oh, how can you say sugar is a drug? But if you think about it, like, if people have any knowledge of like addiction or addiction services and things of that nature, when people go to rehab, they don't allow, like, if you go to rehab for hard drugs, most of those rehabs, if they're doing what they're supposed to do, you're not supposed to have like snacks. They don't let you bring like chocolates or anything like that, because all those things are stimulants, and that sugar is like a drug. Like they're and a lot of people
on a chemical level.
Yes, and you'll see a lot of people with a chemical imbalance when they do become sober or they start to live a sober life, that addiction will switch to something else, and more often than not, it's usually a food addiction because of the dopamine and the way it makes you feel. Which, once again, back to my point of why I'm like, I'm not giving up my whipped feta, because, hey, when I'm having a bad day or when I feel I need a little bit of comfort, a pita chip dipped in some whipped feta just makes me feel like a hug. And I get it. You know what I'm saying? And those are the things that I just want to have discipline over. Like, I don't want to feel like I can't have something that I truly enjoy because I wasted those calories or that allotment elsewhere. You know, like... Why would I go get macaroni and cheese from Chick-fil-A when I can have whipped feta? You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's my point. I just want to have a better balance, literally a better balance and more discipline. Because let's be honest, we're not getting any younger, and our bodies start to reflect that. And I'm not necessarily saying in the physical aspect of weight or what you look like on a physical, but just your internal organs. And when you're talking about
everything is connected.
30 and 40 years of sugary drinks, sugary foods, fast foods, McDonald's, all of that stuff starts to sit on your body a different way. You know, and I don't want that.
Well, cheers to attracting discipline and carving out new ways to live. And really, is it a new way to live? You know?
No.
Is anything really new? I mean, I feel like a lot of people, and in this way, we're kind of going back to what we know naturally and what makes sense to us and our bodies. So kudos to that. I would love to be an accountability partner for you, and I would like for you to be mine too. Now, we'll see how this goes, because the two of us together, I feel like we could potentially end up at Anita's kitchen.
This could either be all good or all bad.
Eating whipped feta and having a couple glasses of wine. We'll see. I do want to jump into our music segment because I had something very interesting to share, and it's a little bit of Black history that is intertwined with this. I came across this story actually on TikTok, and I can't remember the name of the young man who does these story times around Hollywood and different artists, the scandals, the good, the bad, all the things, right? He did a story on, it's not funny, but it kind of is. He did a story on Ike and Tina Turner and the time that the Black Panther Party allegedly whooped off on them in the middle of a show.
Why you say allegedly? We have proof of this. This isn't alleged at this point.
I mean, I don't know.
It happened.
He said, if I'm not mistaken, he said that some people that were, you know, within that party did not confirm or deny that it actually happened. So I don't know. But yeah. There, if you Google search this, there are some things that are going to pop up. There's several articles that you can see, you can read. But essentially, the Black Panther Party they were putting on a show in Oakland, California. And this was like some type of benefit show. I don't know all of the details around it, but Ike and Tina Turner and their band, they had been hired to perform at this show, and it's a big thing because, you know, back then they popping and they're doing this benefit concert, right? They get there and everything looks, you know, according, but however the payment plan was or whatever system or agreement they had, they were paid a percentage up front, and then they had a remaining balance to pay off, in which they allegedly wanted in cash. So they didn't have enough cash on hand to pay them the remaining balance, and allegedly Ike was cutting up about this cash that was missing. And so he was giving them a hard time, you know, kind of hassling the people that were there, that were organizing, so much so that they started to look for other ways to get them paid. You know, like, well, at this time the bank is closed, so they're trying to send people to liquor stores to cash check and all type of shit, right? So in the middle of all of this going on, you know, they're like, basically they're not going out until they get the rest of their money, on account of, you know, the ringleader allegedly being Ike. And I want to say it might have been Mr. Newton that came in there and said, yeah, if y'all don't get on the stage within this amount of time, some shit's gonna pop off.
I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful when I say this.
Oh my gosh.
But facts are facts. And I just feel like maybe he had to come in and one junkie to another. He just had to lay it out and say, please. Hey, you know we're not gonna play like that.
Well, apparently they thought that they were, and you know, they did get on stage, and you know, they get to performing, things are going well, the crowd's going crazy, and some way in the middle of the show, you know, Ike gets to talking about, allegedly, he gets to saying, you know, that they hadn't been paid for this concert, and just, you know, got all this to say about the party, you know, basically not handling business the way that they were. And things went left from there. So
says the person who allegedly never handled business when it came to his like, what's her name talks about that all the time.
Who?
What's her name? Miss Robbie from Sweetie Pies that used to be an Ike at.
I don't even know who that is.
Okay, you have to go. Miss Robbie is a black lady. She's, I would say, a legend, a pioneer. She actually owns Soulful restaurants in St. Louis. You know who Miss Robbie is. I don't think you know who Miss Robbie is, but you remember when Jennifer Williams was dating the dude and he scammed her about the Range Rover and stuff?
No, I don't even know who Jennifer Williams is.
From Basketball Wives.
Oh, light skin, light eyes.
No, that's.
Oh, like brown skin, hazel eyes.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember her face.
She was dating a guy.
I know nothing of the scandal.
So she was dating. She's actually been scammed by a few people. That's a whole nother subject. Man. But she was dating a guy, and
Poor
he pretty much scammed her when it came to like a Range Rover and like some cars and some money and stuff. Well, that was Miss Robbie's son.
Oh wow.
Like Sweetie Pie. So Miss Robbie used to be an Ike Ed. For Ike and Tina Turner review. She was from St. Louis and all this other stuff. So the thing is, she decided, I guess, to take the money that she earned from being an Ike and she opened soul food restaurants in St. Louis, like years and years ago.
They was getting paid.
Sweetie Pies used to be a show on Oprah. Used to have like 4 or 5 seasons of a reality show of them running their restaurant. Mm-hmm. But there's so much scandal around Miss Robbie and Sweetie Pies that don't have nothing to do with her, because she, like I said, her son had scammed Jennifer Williams, and then her son is actually in jail for murder now because he killed his nephew.
What?
Miss Robbie had a grandson. She had a son. So Miss Robbie had 2 sons, if I'm not mistaken. Like, she had 2 kids. One of her sons was already deceased by the time the show came out, because he had been like in some street activity, if I'm not mistaken. Well, he had a son. Miss Robbie helped raise his son, once he passed away. Well, Miss Robbie was taking care of the son, but because it was her son's son, he was more of a son to her than a grandson. And I guess her other son got upset because he was greedy about some money.
Oh yeah,
and
I'm
he
looking at a
killed his
picture.
nephew. His name is like Tim Norman or something. He killed his nephew. Girl, he in prison right now because he had he didn't do the actual killing. If I'm not mistaken, he paid a hitman to do the killing, but he definitely set his nephew up to be killed because he was jealous. It was about the restaurant. He felt like his mom, because he had already scammed Jennifer Williams and all of that stuff around that time. So I think Miss Robbie had started making arrangements to like do her estate a different way and like leave the restaurant in different hands and let other people run the restaurants, because she had given her son, like on the show, if you go back and watch those episodes, she had given her son his actual own location of a restaurant, of one of her franchise restaurants that he was supposed to be running, and he was so busy like having domestic issues with his baby mama and like having a whole bunch of like, you know, just ghetto drama go on, that he couldn't keep the restaurant up to par. So I think around that time, behind the scenes, she started redoing her structure, and I think he got jealous because his nephew and other family members were going to be able to stake more claim to his mom's, you know, her fortune and her legacy at her passing. I mean, she's still alive today, you know, she's still running her restaurants, but her,
I just
he's
looked her up.
crazy.
They said she's 84 years old.
Yeah, but she was an Ikeette, so that's how she actually got the money to open her restaurant.
So she said that Ike is basically, he didn't handle business well.
Yeah, he was notorious for not paying them on time, not paying them enough. I mean, that was a big issue with him and Tina. That's why he didn't want them to not be married anymore. He didn't want them to get a divorce. He didn't want her to keep that name because she was the one making the money. It wasn't Ike and Tina Turner review anymore. Like, remember that scene from What's Love Got to Do with It, when he got mad when they started to do music with her and not him. But a lot of people, a lot of the speculation around that time was, not only was she a beautiful woman and she had the voice and all of that other stuff, and just music was starting to segue from that whole group thing to more of a solo act. But he had so many issues with his addiction. Nobody wanted to deal with him. He was such a difficult person because he was always high.
That makes sense. Well, you know, knowing all of that in context, it does, you know, make sense. And I'm sure some people somewhere in the world will say that it checks out. But they forgot at that moment when he decided that he was going to put them on blast in the middle of their show. Allegedly, they forgot. Well, Ike forgot that the Panthers were known for whooping ass, and so much so that a lot of people don't know, or some people maybe they do know, that a lot of them were black belts, if you will. So the men got to whipping on the men, and the women got to whipping on the women, allegedly. And it was just a big ass brawl in the middle of this benefit concert that was supposed to be, you know, a lovely thing. And I just thought, I did laugh about it a little bit, because it's just one of those things that is happening in history. It's not such a positive thing, or within music. That a lot of people don't, I feel like a lot of people don't know about it. I certainly didn't, and it was so random that it popped up on my timeline. But I like this type of information because it's just stuff that's good to know. And I'm also a history nerd, so.
And it's random, but it makes a lot of sense. Like, nothing about that to me seems far-fetched, especially just because of the things that we know about how this seems to fare out. Like, just taking it a little further, like, you was ready to try to like come to blows with these people and you knew you couldn't fight, you know what I'm saying, but you at home putting your hands on this woman on a regular basis. Like, you man enough to fight this lady but when it comes to these men, you was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go get on stage, I'm just gonna talk my shit when I get on stage, because you was already scared they was gonna whoop your ass behind them scenes. He couldn't handle it. He couldn't have. They would have folded.
Who is that?
Ike Turner up every which way from Sunday.
I mean, and allegedly they did, and there were like, there may have been like some lawsuits that surfaced after that. I can't remember if it was Ike that was going after them or the other way around, but yeah, it's a thing. So if y'all want to do a little bit of a deep dive, I feel like if you search this on TikTok, the video that I came across may pop up, and it was way more detailed than what I just gave, but it was just interesting. I actually saw an interview with Judge Joe Brown, and I don't know how credible he is, first of all, let me say that. But in this clip, there's a clip floating around where he mentioned that according to his memory and his recollection, that Tina was more of the aggressor when it came to their relationship, and that she was actually mean, because he said he was a kid at the time when they were coming around, and like I don't know if he was from the same neighborhood but he talks about how Ike would like pull up on them, like the kids, and just like sit with them and talk to them and motivate them, and that she was really mean. And so I think he even, don't let me get to line. I ain't even gonna
I
say
feel
that.
like people can say that, but you don't know what's going behind the scenes. Especially, the only reason why I don't give any weight to that from him, because he said it himself. He was a kid. As a kid, you don't understand the inner workings of stuff going on. Like, he could have been nice to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, she could have seemed mean to you, but how do you know that before he came down the street and sat and talked to y'all, he didn't just whoop this woman's ass? You know what I'm saying? Before he came outside, you a kid. And
like
you don't get it.
Like I said, I don't know how credible, of a source, that is, or how much credibility we can give to that. But I think it's something, for me, it was something worth thinking about. And like you say, you don't know the inner workings of people's relationship. But really, the reality or the whole basis or foundation of it is nobody should be putting their hands on anybody. Everybody keep their hands and feet to themselves. That too.
So I did have something else for sound check, and it wasn't really anything major. But since we're bringing up like random stuff, I want to just address the fact that I don't think a lot of people know that Ray J and
oh God,
Ray J and what's his name? What's that big man name?
There's so many big names. How am I supposed to know?
Suge Knight.
Oh,
they're beefing.
Why? That's such a random beef.
Well, it's not. That's why I'm bringing it up, because people don't know this one little thing. So apparently, Suge Knight's in prison. He made, if I'm not mistaken, from what I gather, he made Ray J the power of attorney over his affairs.
Why?
And the money.
How do they even know each other?
Ray J's a blood.
I did not know that.
He's like deep in the fold. Like, if you go back, this is what I want, not only you, but I want everybody to listen to this, because if y'all don't believe me, go back and watch every clip that has surfaced in the last 2 weeks of the Millennium Tour. Every clip, he's walking around with a red bandana hanging out his back pocket. He's a blood. Like, he's like a real blood.
Wow.
Like, he's,
I didn't know
like,
that.
When I'm talking about real blood, like, he's one of the people that you have to check in with when you go to LA type shit. I mean, that's what I be trying to get people to understand too about like that gang culture. You automatically think somebody's a certain way and they're not affiliated, but that's just like people don't realize that Vince Staples is a Crip. And they respect him. Like, Vince Staples is a Crip. You would never imagine, because look at how he presents himself. He don't carry himself like that. Yeah. But Ray J is a blood. So Ray J and Suge Knight got so much beef right now. Like, they've been like subtweeting each other, like cussing each other out. It's been a lot. And that kind of, I didn't have anything for Rhythm and Groove, but that does make me, now that I done brought up Ray J and him being a blood, which is weird, which is why I don't believe he's a blood, because I'm not saying I don't believe it. It strikes me as odd, because he's such an odd individual. But he is a Capricorn man, and as a Capricorn woman, I'm gonna tell you this: nobody grinds my gears like a Capricorn man. I absolutely cannot stand them. Everything about them makes my skin crawl.
Wow.
It's just really odd.
I don't know many Capricorn men.
I
honestly.
say that to say, like, so apparently somebody saw him and Princess Love kissing at Coachella, and they like recorded a video of it. And when somebody asked him to address it, he goes on this tangent about how he don't really like Princess, and they was just kissing because they was just kissing. It's just so much.
They're not still married. I think
they're still married, but I'm not sure.
It's okay.
And it's so weird. That's such a weird dynamic.
She's a beautiful woman.
Because every time I think about Ray J and Princess Love, I can never have a conversation about them without ending it in saying, I don't know why she married that nigga in the first place. Because let me tell you something. After he pushed her in the pool.
Oh, I remember when he pushed her in the pool.
Ain't no way.
That's wild.
Like, she's crazy. But yeah.
But, you know, that just goes back to, we don't know the inner workings of people's relationships and how compatible they are.
And speaking of that, so
what be going on in their house?
Did you see the clip of him begging Cassinet to come over on the live broadcast?
No.
So he tweet. I don't know if he tweeted it or it was like a voice note, but he was talking to Cassinet and he was like, you know, I've been seeing y'all sleep together and take showers together. No homo. I want to do it with y'all too. I want to sleep over with y'all, because he saw the clip. You know, it's all those clips of like Drewski and Kevin Hart being on Consonant's Twitch stream have been like, you know, everywhere. And so because of that, like Ray J was like pretty much begging. He was like, I want to sleep over with y'all. I want to shower with y'all. Like literally was like saying all of this stuff. So much so that Brandy was like, Ray, this is not you. What's going on with you? Like, this is not your character. And then he replies to her and was like, I'm lonely. I need my family back. I want my wife back.
That's so
But you just said you didn't even want the girl. You just said y'all was just kissing to be kissing. And then 2 days later, that's why I don't like Capricorn men. Because y'all like to throw rocks and hide y'all hand. You want to play the victim.
Yeah, and I can see.
Tyrese is a Capricorn man.
I can see that perspective. Leave Tyrese alone.
My Shayla.
Leave Tyrese alone.
Oh, my Shayla.
We don't know. I mean, you said it. We don't know the inner workings of their relationship and how this shit work. Shit, I always be thinking that people be doing stuff for attention. Honestly, like, okay, it's profitable to be, you know, popping on the internet a lot of times, or maybe they got something, a business tactic loaded up. I don't know, but it's something to think about. I do want to jump into rhythm and groove, and it has nothing to do with this really. But I came across this video. Actually, my best friend sent this to me earlier today, and there's a clip of an intersex person talking about gender and like the idea or like scientific basis of like gender. And why this is so interesting is because to me, my best friend and I, we were talking about this because it was just interesting to us that intersex people are like a forgotten segment of people, if you will. Like, nobody's actually talking about that when it comes to like male and female issues, or, you know, everything that's going on from a political standpoint, which we don't even got to get into that part of things. But
do you think that's because there's so much focus on the trans community? Like, it's so much focus on people who actually make the choice versus people who didn't have a choice. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. But even when you talk about it from a scientific standpoint, and when we discuss gender, most of the time it's either male or female, and the perspectives of either or. But not often do we hear conversations around intersex people and even what their lives look like as an intersex person. How do you identify? How does, you know, society, or what is your experience around society or within society, I would say. there's a lot of questions that I would have for someone who is considered to be intersex. And so I don't want to say he or she because I don't know, what they identify as. But they stated that they were assigned female at birth, but they later found out that they have an XY chromosome. So from a biological perspective, they're actually a man. And they said that they have a womb, but they don't have ovaries. And they also don't have testicles. And then also, biologically, on the outside, they are female presenting. But on the inside, it's like this complicated kind of situation happening. And so my thought is that maybe there is more literature out there on this, and I just haven't gotten into it yet. I haven't come across it yet because I also haven't been looking. But largely what I'm getting at is that it's a question of like, why is this not being talked about? And then also I'm curious of what the lives of intersex people look like. Is it any different from someone who identifies as a male or female? And then
maybe we
also
need to find somebody and have them on as a guest.
That would be lovely. But then it's also like, is there this shame factor, that kind of comes with being intersex for some people? Because you see what I'm saying?
And I think that's questions that have to be asked. Once again, like I said, we probably just need to bring people on as a guest, and maybe more than one. And the only reason why I say that is because I would assume, being someone who does not deal with that, I would assume that some people do, but then you also have to look at the emergence of social media and monetization of content and things of that nature. And I think that we forget when we have this big conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion. You have these types of, I don't want to say these types of people because it seems very insensitive, but you have these groups of people that traditionally would not have been able to feel comfortable in a traditional workplace, so on and so forth. They're taking to social media and to monetize content to make a living, because when you have people more often than not that are in the LGBTQ community, who are a part of the trans community, and I would even say intersex community, you always have that overarching theme of a financial constraint and poverty, and things of that nature. So where I would say before, I think traditionally there might have been more shame, more of a shame factor to it. I think now it might not be as much of one, because now you can monetize it. You know what I'm saying? And so many people become a part of this community or of your fan base, or however you want to call it, once you start to tell your story. So I believe it may present better outlets or situations where people don't have to feel so embarrassed by it. You know what I'm saying? You can form more of a community and groups and things of that nature where you can have more support and understanding than before. I feel like that is a great perspective to look at, and that's one way or an avenue of going about it. But it's even getting to that point because you're in a world, in a society. Like in this video, they ask, Am I welcome in none of the spaces, or am I welcome in all of the spaces? Yeah. You're in a society that really just puts you on this fine line of straddling the fence, because they say in the video that I am biologically male and biologically female, depending on what test you give me. And so coming across this video, it is just so interesting because, they even talk about, well, I know that I can't play any professional sports if I ever wanted to, because they have this toss up of what their
gender is, according to, you know, these scientific standards that are in place. So I just thought that was interesting, and I came across that, and honestly, it's made me want to just do a little bit of a deep dive for my own education and wanting to know what the experiences of intersex people is like, and honestly from every perspective of life, because I may know someone who is technically intersex, but I wouldn't know, because I don't think it's something, or I haven't come across anyone who will openly share. So I think you are on the right path. We should have someone on the show who identifies as intersex, because I feel that that is a really important conversation that needs to be unlocked. But yeah, moving along, I do want to talk a little bit, or jump into the delicious dive a bit. So I'm gonna make mine quick. Mine is actually about pineapples, which is so random, but I realized I don't really know. Like, I was thinking, like, how are pineapples actually, like, how do they come about?
That's so
you
random.
ever think about it? Like, what, like, how do they come about? And actually, pineapples, allegedly, they're not like, they're not formed the same way that other fruits are. They come from like multiple different like fruits, is what I read. It's not
like
just one. Yeah, it's like a hybrid, if you will. I don't know if that would be like technically the term, but based off of what I was reading, that's essentially what it leans towards. But the more fascinating thing that I found about pineapples is that it actually takes them a very long time to grow. So it can take pineapples anywhere between 18 months and 3 years to grow into full bloom where we can eat them.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
It is interesting, and it makes me question a lot of things. Like, I don't want to get into that, but it makes me question things. But another cool thing about pineapple is that pineapple is rich in an enzyme called bromelain. And bromelain itself is defined as a protein digesting enzyme, and it's derived from pineapples, and you can find it in the fruit, the stem, the leaves, and the peel. And so some of the benefits of this lovely enzyme is that it reduces inflammation from tendonitis, sprains, strains, and other minor muscle injuries. But in Europe, allegedly, it's also used to treat sinus and nasal swelling following ear, nose, and throat surgery or trauma. There are also some studies where people have used it in dental practices and foot surgeries because of the power to reduce inflammation, or its power to reduce inflammation. What's also interesting about bromelain, which is why I tend to tell my clients to use some pineapple juice when we're in labor, is that bromelain has been known to induce contractions. So if we're trying to get to or we're trying to get to the point of labor where, you know, you have to push, a lot of people will recommend drinking pineapple juice to help with the process. The other thing is that if anybody has ever looked up a recipe for a midwife's brew, which is to induce labor, allegedly, they would actually give you this in a hospital. A lot of times it has pineapple juice in it, and it's one for taste, but also because of bromelain. So
that's interesting, because I actually drink pineapple juice every day. Every single day. I buy pineapple juice by the case in 8-ounce cans, because I'm a Bloom girl. I love to drink Bloom, the superfoods, the greens, and they tell you can mix it with water and or juice. I don't mind mixing it with water, but I also, for a various number of reasons, and honestly, inflammation is the number one, I mix it with pineapple juice. That way I can ensure I drink pineapple juice every day, because that, you know, it helps for so many different things in the body, and then that way I can get my greens in.
It's good for you to have
and it's crazy because I started doing that for my
serving.
mom. My mom doesn't drink pineapple juice every day, but she makes pineapple water. So she will put like, she'll take fresh pineapple, chunk it in like big chunks, and put like 1 or 2 in mason jars with like distilled or alkaline water, and then she'll drink that throughout the day and then eat the pineapple. And so I'm just lazy. My mama got a lot more time on her hands than I do. So instead of doing all that, I just pop open a little can of Dole pineapple juice, add my bloom greens to it, shake it up, drink it, and go on about my day.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a great way to ingest it as well. And it's high in vitamin C too. So a lot of people will take it for its immune boosting properties. The way that it works for or in labor is that it actually makes the cervix softer. So yeah, it causes you to kind of, or your cervix to relax and soften a bit, and it assists with the breakdown of tissues and helps to get those contractions stimulated, get the contractions popping. So I've seen it work time and time again. A lot of times some healthcare providers will tell you to avoid pineapples or pineapple juice in large quantities early on in pregnancy for that reason. So yeah, that's everything about pineapples. Another quick thing that I want to share is that I came across some pineapple sage today, and I'm excited to plant this in my garden because it smells so good. But now I'm thinking about what I can use it for. I have some pineapple sage and pineapple mint actually, which they both smell like pineapple. I was very amazed by that. With that being said, I am preparing to refresh my garden, and I'm excited about the summer and all the things that are going to bloom this year. I'm just looking forward to it. I love coming home and like watering my garden and spending time outside and checking on my plants and pruning them and all the things, and just seeing them grow, like from little plants to big vegetable producing and, you know, bountiful herbs and spices and all that other stuff. Well, not spices, but herbs for sure.
I keep saying I need to grow me some herbs, but I just be kind of lazy and I don't be feeling like all of that.
You can come to my garden. I have quite a bit, and some of my stuff like my chives and lemon balm, they returned this year, and I think my oregano came back too. I have to check. But yeah, some of the plants they returned, which is perfect. But I also got some new ones. Like I got some rosemary and the ones that I just mentioned. So I'm looking forward to it. I also got some strawberries. And I met a very lovely young lady at the nursery who was telling me that there's a specific type of strawberry that will bloom all year. So she talked me into getting those, and I got those. This is my first time with strawberries. I will be back to report how that goes. But I'm very excited to use this pineapple sage. I've been looking up different ways to incorporate it, and I saw someone make a pineapple sage pound cake. I'm interested to see what that will taste like, because it doesn't seem that the sage will be, the taste of the sage is going to be very potent. But I'm interested to see what it tastes like in a dessert dish. So that's it for me with the delicious dive. Did you have something?
Not necessarily anything that I want to go into like discussion about. I just want to say, y'all too damn grown to not be eating no vegetables. I'm just gonna say that. I just feel like grown people should be able to eat vegetables. Like, it really grinds my gears when I go out to eat, because I've never actually had broccoli and cheese before. And when I tell people that, they look at me strange. But my mama didn't play that. Like, let me tell you something. Charmaine will let us get away with a lot of stuff, but not eating vegetables or putting like stuff on vegetables that in her mind did not belong was not going to fly. Like, my mom has never, like, my mother has never ever made broccoli and cheese at home. We have broccoli, We have macaroni and cheese, but my mama not melting no damn cheese on top of no broccoli. I can't relate
because I've done it myself, and I can say that Angela has done it too.
I don't even know what it tastes like. I wouldn't even know how to make it at home myself, like, because it's just, to me, like, why do I want cheese on broccoli? Yeah, like, the closest thing that my mama would, the only way we would have broccoli and cheese is if she made like broccoli and cheese casserole, you know what I'm saying, with like the rice. You know how you make that little casserole stuff. But I just y'all too grown to not be eating vegetables. I'm just gonna say that. Now, I don't mind you know, getting a little raw cucumber, a little piece of celery, a little piece of pepper, a little carrot, dipping in a little ranch dressing, you know what I'm saying, a little veggie dip. That's cool. But if somebody done cooked you some vegetables and, you know, cooked them in cheese, some broth, and put some good salt and pepper, because listen, I only buy McCormick pepper, okay? And if you grocery shop in 2025, McCormick is about $6 just for the black pepper alone. Don't let me use my good McCormick black pepper and high dollar pink Himalayan sea salt and good vegetable broth and make you some vegetables, and you turn around and put ranch dressing on this shit. It's just gonna make me mad.
Honestly, I mean, I feel you. I feel the same way about overcooked vegetables.
Yes.
So, like, I don't like when my string beans are soggy, or like the mushy, broccoli is like mushy, or it's that.
No,
that
this is nice, firm,
flushed green.
Yeah, I'm a texture person, so I cook everything like al dente. You know how they say with pasta, al dente style. So nothing is ever overcooked. I mean, ain't nothing soft and mushy but the potatoes, and that's if they supposed to be mashed.
But maybe people don't know. So, you know, for the listeners who may be asking, well, what is an overcooked vegetable? We're not here to judge you. We're really not. We are here to teach you, though. Your vegetables should be bright green. That broccoli is not supposed to be that dark green flesh color. It should not be mushy. When you go to fork it, it should still be kind of firm. Yeah. You still have a little crunch on it, you know? Same with my green beans. Any type of vegetable that needs that crunch, I don't want that shit over. I don't want no vegetables overcooked. Yeah, like you said, unless it's supposed to be that way, like a potato.
Yeah,
I'm good on that.
Yeah, but that's my public service announcement, is that y'all too grown to not be eating no vegetables. Like,
let's give the listeners some homework, Tash.
Like, but it really grinds my gears, like, for real. Like, I'm not trying to be funny, but people be posting plates of meat, and it'll be like mashed potatoes and corn. Where are the fucking vegetables? I just need to know, because those are not vegetables, Diamond.
According
corn
to them,
is a starch. Potatoes are a starch. You're supposed to have a protein, a meat, a starch, and a vegetable. And the way we grew up in my mama house, cabbage was the starch. That wasn't the vegetable, because cabbage is a starchy vegetable. Listen, all of that's crazy to me. Like,
I didn't even know that cabbage was considered a starch.
It is.
That shit's good.
And corn is a starch too. It's not a vegetable.
You know, speaking of corn, I wonder if this would like classify as a starchy, but I guess so, because it's a corn. But I came across this corn that is called glass gem corn. It's a rare, open pollinated heirloom corn. And it has these bright, vibrant, rainbow-like kernels.
I mean, that sounds all well and fine,
it's so pretty.
I don't eat corn at all.
Oh, well,
because it don't digest in your body properly. And
somebody said that they don't feel like we're supposed to be eating it. We supposed to be eating it at all.
Because it doesn't digest in your body. Once you have a kid, you'll see what I mean. Give your kid some corn and go change that diaper.
You don't even have to have a kid. You can see it for yourself.
Well, I don't look at my own poop when I'm done with the poop. I usually flush the toilet before I get up.
The certain ways that your bowels are formed can tell you specific things about what's going on with your gut and internally. Mm-hmm. So if you have thank God I've never had this experience, but some people have had issues with having blood in their stool.
I have it all the time. It's Crohn's. Like, it's an intestinal thing. Yeah.
But if you are a person who doesn't know that you have that, right, Tash, and you don't look at your poop, to know, you just got these other issues going on, that might be a red flag for you to be able to look and see, like, oh my God, like somebody seeing that doesn't normally see that in their stool. They'll be like, oh, I probably should go and get checked out. Sometimes that could be the red flag for someone.
I done dealt with this so long, I don't gotta look. I can smell it. I can be like, ooh, that smell like a Crohn's flare up. Like I'll be like, oh, in a few days, like I can tell how it come out. I can tell, like, and that might be TMI, but I can tell how it come out. I can tell the color of it. I can tell the smell. Like I can like mid poop, like be like, oh no, my stomach about to be like for a few days, like, or I ate this and it told me, like, I can know. But I've also dealt with this for so long. You know what I'm saying? Like. Unfortunately, I've become like an expert in it. And everybody's body is different. So, like, I have a good friend who has Crohn's. He and I have been best friends almost since like high school. He can drink. Alcohol don't bother him. If I have the wrong alcohol or too much alcohol, I can go to the hospital instantly. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I've watched this dude drink Hennessy by the gallon, like, and it don't bother him. You know what I'm saying? But so everybody's body is different because Crohn's is one of those things that is so unpredictable. Like, there's no test to know that you have Crohn's. In order for me to have been diagnosed, they had to give me other tests, and when those were negative, it was like, okay, well, this might be the thing that's going on with you, because there's no real test to like test for Crohn's, colitis, or IBS and all that kind of stuff. So literally it's a lot of trial and error.
It's so interesting. We went from talking about the like things in the delicious dive to talking about stool.
Well,
I mean, it's a part of
but it's a part of it, because that's another reason why I feel like y'all niggas should be eating vegetables, because if you eat vegetables, you have bowel movements on a regular basis, and you'll be able to get stuff out that don't need to be in, and vice versa.
I'm gonna say this, and because we do want to still get to our counsel and confessions, just be mindful. I'm not saying you have to have a stare off with your stool in the toilet, but just be mindful, and be mindful
and
of
eat some green vegetables.
Eat your vegetables, but be mindful of the fact that your stool can tell you different things about what's going on with you internally.
Yes.
And that's it, you know. So that's your homework for eat some vegetables. Eat a vegetable.
Eat green vegetables. Corn do not count. Okay, I don't want to see y'all with that yellow golden kernel corn on your plate with fried chicken and mashed potatoes.
Okay, for people that don't eat any type of vegetable, you got to start somewhere. So if you feel like corn is a nice gateway for you to start there.
Ain't no way people black and don't eat no vegetables. Somebody eat some greens.
I met a lady who said she don't like vegetables. She don't like to eat no vegetables. And when you want to know one thing that was so interesting when she said that, her body I was like, my mouth dropped. When I was in New Orleans, I met a lady who said, she was like,
what does your
diet plan look like? She didn't specify. She said that she actually didn't do anything. Matter of fact, she said she just live life. She said she does. Listen, her body was tea. She said she don't like no vegetables, and I thought that was so interesting. But eat a vegetable that you have not eaten before. Try something different. Try bok choy. You know, there's so many different types of leafy greens that you can try. Incorporate it in your salad if you want to take that route. There are things out here that we can try and be open to having on our plates.
And if you're going to eat a salad, quit putting all that goddamn meat and cheese and them eggs and all that other stuff on it. Okay, y'all, that's it.
You can put a little protein on there.
A little bit, but not too much.
I like a nice variation of vegetables on mine personally. But yeah, let's jump into the counsel and confession segment, because we do have something for y'all this week.
Okay. So this submission, I just briefly... Okay, no, so I don't have any names that I have to block. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So this week on our counsel and confessions, our listener wants to know, are they wrong, or they want advice on their situation where they feel like they're falling out of love with their husband after he lost 2 years of their 401k.
What?
Listen, that's my thought. I was like, what? Okay, so here we go. A couple years ago, I finally got a job where I could start contributing to a 401k. after about 1 year, our apartment was going to raise the rent and there was no way we would be able to afford it. So we opted into looking at pulling out. We opted into looking at options for pulling out from our 401k to use that as a down payment towards a home, because it would be cheaper to own a home rather than rent from the same apartment complex or any other complex at this point. A couple years go by and we are still horrendously in debt because my husband has a bad habit of financing everything without letting me know. We also started sending our kid to a school and the tuition isn't cheap. After about 2 years of saving for my 401k again, this is where it gets funny. President Trump got elected and cryptocurrency was on the rise. My husband was adamant that we invest in cryptocurrency at this moment because it would guarantee incredible gains and hopefully help us get out of debt. I suggested that we use our 401k to pay off the debt that we have in credit cards and loans. That alone would give us an extra $1,000 a month to use on whatever we needed to. I suggest we use the extra $1,000 a month to continue investing in crypto. And he heavily disagreed and named every single reason in the book to convince me that this wasn't a good idea. We talked about this for days, even weeks, but he was so stubborn. I couldn't come up with any other reason to convince him otherwise. He was 100% set on not investing in the cryptocurrency, and there's nothing I could do to sway him. As a result, we missed a chance to invest about $30,000 into cryptocurrency, which would have gave us a good return. In the process of him moving money from my 401k into his wallet, he ended up losing all of our other savings on what I don't know. My question is, am I wrong for not wanting to forgive him? He says he's sorry and that it was a mistake and that he feels terrible for it. I understand that he feels terrible, but this is not the first time that he has lost an insane amount of our money because of his desire to gamble.
Yeah.
On top of him having a history of bad spending habits, he says that he doesn't have bad spending habits anymore, yet he continues to buy things we don't need and spend money gambling. I cannot see him the same anymore. I have lost a lot of respect for him, and I may even say with the cherry on top that this has made me fall completely out of love for him. What do you think?
That's a lot to digest. You know, the first thing is he lost your money on what? You don't know. I'm gonna have to get on to the bottom of that.
It sounds like she know, because she said this ain't the first time you spent money because you like to gamble.
Right. So but you know,
maybe it ain't all gambling, but
I'm thinking, like, does she mean legit gambling, like he has a gambling addiction, or is she saying gambling like, you know, the cryptocurrency situation, et cetera, you know, taking risk? Is she alluding to that, or like, I don't know, this man got a legit gambling problem?
But before we even get to that point, she crazy. Let me tell you something.
Fool me once.
It's one thing, and this is something that I'm working on. I'm gonna preface it with that.
I feel like I know what you're about to say, but let me just be quiet and listen.
But I draw the line when it comes to money and finances, and I'm working on that. But money is a big deal for me. But like that, first of all, let me tell you something. I done clocked in on these people job every day. You're not getting my 401k.
Where your 401k at?
Exactly. Because where your job at, buddy? My 401k is my, and you know what? And I'm not trying to be funny, but I am in this season where I desire to have a husband, and maybe this is God saying this why you ain't got one yet, girl, because you're still selfish. Because let me tell you something. My 401k is my 401k. I'm not trying to be funny, but the student loan balance I got from all these years going to law school, grad school, undergrad, you didn't pay into none of that. The 401k that I started earning before you put a ring on it, you're not going to use it for anything. And if I choose to use it, let that be my choice. But I believe that, and this is not just as a woman. I think men should too. I believe that everybody should financially protect themselves. And I just don't feel like my husband needs to know how much money is in my 401k, especially while I'm still working and contributing to it. Now, if we were at an age and a stage where we both 65, 70, and we ready to stop working, we're going to cash in these investments in this 401k, and we're going to make a plan to see how we can live, then I will let you know how much money is in my 401k, because now the money it makes a difference because we're going to use it. Right. But as I'm still earning and contributing towards this is hands off. Like,
it's my money that I walked into this relationship with, regardless of anything.
And so that makes me, I got questions.
I have questions too. I'm really big on prenups. I believe in that.
Absolutely.
I believe that it works not just for the woman, but I mean the man too. Everybody's walking, if this does not work out.
Because I want to know,
everybody's
where do
walking
he work?
away with what they walked into this relationship with, and that's it. I think that it's so important, especially when it comes to protecting your investments. And there's no way that I would put myself in that position to that type of position of vulnerability. Yeah, no, I'm not putting myself in that position for someone to take advantage of me in that way.
Well, my question
because that's
is
what he's
too,
done.
Well, where do he work? Where's his 401k?
I said that.
Why
Where's
don't
your
he
401k?
have no money? And outside of that, I just I don't want to say it's
there had to be signs.
I understand. Well, I was getting ready to address that because my whole thing is I don't want to say yeah, you stupid, because I get it. That's your husband. You was in love. You was trying to do whatever. But my whole thing is if you can say that he's had an issue with gambling, whether it's just taking gambles and risk or actually the act of gambling, be it slots, sports, street gambling, shooting dice, shooting craps, whatever. If you've known that he fool me once, shame on me, on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. If he's already shown you that he's bad with money, why would you even consider this? That's all the more reason in my mind why, if you know he's gambled before and he's lost large amounts of y'all savings before, he wouldn't even know how much money I had in a 401k, because I would feel like, as your wife or as the other partner to this relationship, I need to protect us. And if that means keeping a secret about how much money I have saved so your bad actions don't put us in this point again, then that's what I'm gonna have to do.
I'm gonna be honest and I agree with what you're saying, but it just made me realize and take me back to what I always say. And my friends will hear me say this. Love is not enough.
It's not.
Love is just simply not enough.
No.
And while we're talking about this, it is making me think damn, this is a deal breaker for me.
Yeah, no, for me too. Absolutely.
Having a partner that's bad with money, to me, that's a sign of a lack of maturity, for one. And I find it incredibly selfish when you're in a relationship or in a marriage with someone to go off the rails and spend money and that, or gamble away somebody else's money.
Or even your when you're talking about stuff that's small, I would be, if I were married and my husband went and did something stupid, went and got a title pond or something, I would be pissed. How would you do that without consulting? You know what I'm saying?
It's just some things that when you are knee deep in a marriage relationship, it's just some things that you don't impulsively make final decisions on when it comes to finance.
And it's interesting that you
should be talking to your partner about it and saying, hey, I'm thinking about doing X, Y, and Z. I mean, I just don't understand it. And I'm thinking from a perspective of, what if your partner doesn't work or doesn't have anything, or.
And so, like you said, that's a deal breaker for me. I have to have somebody who's financially stable and sound, and not only in the regard of not, blowing money, but just in general. But I do respect people that are honest about their situations and their relationships with money, because that's the first way, in my opinion, of how you fix it. Right. And I do remember having a conversation with a man, like, you know, another guy, and we were, well, I ain't gonna say another guy because I ain't a guy, but I had a conversation with a guy, and we were talking about, you know, things.
Another guy.
we were having conversation about things that were appropriate in relationships, and, like, you know, what we were looking for and things of that nature. And he literally, you know, like, I think based on what I was saying, he could gather that money was, you know, a big thing for me. And he literally just came right out and asked me, like, how do you feel about helping someone learn how to manage their money? And I'm like, what do you mean? And he was like, well, as a man, I can make money. He's like, I've made money. I can make money. Like, I have a good job. I make a lot of it. He was like, but I honestly know that my strong suit is not managing it. And I was like, but that's the first step. Like, you were man enough to say that I can make it. I can bring home the bacon, but I can't fry that shit up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how to make it stretch. And I think that's also a level of maturity, even if you can't handle your money, to say that I can't handle it and allow somebody else to do it. Because my whole response to him was like, shit, if you making the money, I'll invest it. I'll pay the bills. You just put it in the account. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'll make something shake. Don't worry about the rest of that. Like, we can make it happen. If you making the money got to be here. But I also told him too that the way I like to think, for me, that's an open area for education. And I feel like when two people are together, if they are not on the same page in every aspect, they are supposed to educate each other to bring each other up to different levels. And I was like, it just wouldn't be right for me to know you making the money and me managing it without teaching you how to manage it too.
Right. No, that makes sense. And I, like you said, I think that's the first step of admitting, hey, this is not really my strong suit. I think that if somebody is willing to be taught, then it could work. And that won't be as big of an issue. But what I do find, and I do believe, is that the people who struggle with these types of addictions or types of just issues around money, they often don't realize that this is an issue or that you have a problem or this is an area of growth that you need. Like, they don't look at it as a problem. Like, it's not a problem to them. They don't have that sense of that inkling of like, hold on, let me pump the brakes, you know? So that's wild. I hope that she did what was best for her in that situation. It's incredibly sad to hear because
I don't feel like she's wrong.
I don't feel like she's wrong at all. And I also, we know, having this conversation right now, that she's not the only one. You know, there's somebody else out here in the world that's been through something similar or the same situation.
And I think it's interesting because she did, like, it was kind of like a 2-part question, like, am I wrong for not giving him the money? You know what I'm saying? And am I wrong for feeling like I'm not in love with him? And I'm like, I don't feel like you're wrong for either of those things, because just a step further, like the love thing, people don't realize, like we said, love is just not enough. And she can still love him but not be in love with him, because people, like, being in love requires a lot of work, and it's hard to have that work being done when you feel like you got to continuously go back behind somebody and making sure they have your best interests at heart. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's what that is, in my opinion. Is like, if I have to tell you that you don't supposed to blow all of our money on, like, you know what I'm saying? Right. On gambling and other bullshit. Like, you don't truly consider me. How can I be in love with somebody that I'm watching potentially put me in a state that my livelihood is in jeopardy? Like, you're spending and blowing $30,000 at a time on gambling or whatever else you're blowing it on out of her 401k. Like, to me, that's a lack of respect, care, and consideration. And how can I be in love with somebody like that? Like, this is divorce worthy. Like,
exactly.
Girl,
that's what I said. It's just a lack of consideration. And when it comes to her navigating her own feelings and emotions and actions around the situation, you got to be honest. You got to be honest about all the aspects of the situation. The fact that this does not sit well with you. The fact that it's not a situation of convenience for anybody at that point. And it is highly inconsiderate and it's disrespectful. You know, so it's putting you in a compromising position. And again, and I'm gonna keep on saying it, love is just not enough, y'all. And that's all. Well, that was a interesting one, Tash. I will say, let's jump into the sanctuary scoop. And as we jump into our announcements, send us your stories, okay? We want to hear from you. You can email us at thesoulfulstir@gmail.com. If you have a spicy story, a confession, or a question that you would like to submit to the pod, we would love to hear from you guys. And even if it's feedback on the show, like, tell us what you're thinking. What could we do more of? What would you like to hear less of? You know, be honest with us, because honesty makes a difference. And also follow us on Instagram, TikTok,
and YouTube.
Yes, at the Soulful Stir. If you get on YouTube, you can stream our episodes there. That helps us with engagement and getting our views up. So please stream our episodes there, as well as on all streaming platforms where you like to hear your podcast. I think that's it for me.
Yeah, that's about it for me too.
Yeah, that's it. I don't really have nothing else. I was about to just tell people I just really want him to eat some green vegetables, but I know they're probably tired
You
of
already
me
said
saying
that.
But I'm serious.
Eat your
I just really
vegetables, y'all.
want people to, like, you know.
We love y'all and we
do
care
better.
about y'all. We love y'all for real.
No, seriously. My sweet babies.
I want you to what you used to say.
My sweet babies. I love y'all for real.
Hug yourselves real tight. I want you to squeeze. I love me some Monique.
Yeah, I do. I
Make
love
me
her.
hate her. I love her.
Yeah.
But yes, y'all, thank you again for listening to us. This has been another episode of The Soulful Stir. Over and out.
Holla at y'all.